When did the "I've had it worse" girl finally lose? There was this girl, Pilar, in our friend group who had mastered the art of having it worse than everyone else. Not in an obvious way, she'd perfected this concerned, supportive voice where she'd listen to your problems, nod sympathetically, then somehow launch into how she'd been through the same thing but worse. Failed a test? Pilar had once failed 3 tests in one day while battling walking pneumonia. Parents fighting? Pilar's parents had almost divorced 7 times, and she'd personally mediated every single argument. Broke up with someone? Pilar had been ghosted by her soulmate on Valentine's Day during her grandmother's funeral. The genius part was how she did it. She never said, "That's nothing compared to what I went through." Instead, she'd say things like, "Oh honey, I completely understand because when that happened to me." Then she'd unspool some elaborate tragedy that made your problem sound like a minor inconvenience. But she'd end with, "So I totally get what you're going through. Here if you need to talk." Nobody could call her out because technically she was being supportive. She was offering to help. She was sharing her own experiences. But somehow you always walked away feeling worse about yourself and better about her. She turned suffering into a competitive sport where only she knew she was competing. She had a story for everything. Every single thing. Someone's dog died. Pilar had lost 3 dogs in 1 year to a rare genetic disease that only affected her family's pets. Someone's cousin was in the hospital. Pilar's entire extended family had been in a multi-car pileup that she'd survived by jumping out at the last second. Someone's boyfriend cheated. Pilar had discovered her ex was living a double life with 3 different families. The details were always just vague enough that you couldn't fact check them. For 3 years, she slowly trained everyone to stop sharing their problems. What was the point? Pilar had always been through worse. Kids started keeping things to themselves rather than deal with her trauma Olympics. Our friend group became weirdly surface level because nobody wanted to open up anymore. She even did it with good news. You got into your dream college? Pilar had gotten into a better one but couldn't go because of her sick relative, who needed care. You won a competition? Pilar had won nationals in something similar but had to give up the trophy because of a technicality. There was literally no experience, good or bad, that she hadn't already lived through more intensely. The downfall started during senior year when our friend Nadia's house caught fire. Small kitchen fire, everyone was fine, but they had to live in a hotel for 2 weeks while repairs were done. Nadia was pretty shaken up about it. Pilar immediately went into her routine. "Oh my god, Nadia, I completely understand. When I was 14, our entire house burned down. We lost everything. Photos, heirlooms, my childhood journals. We had to live in our car for a month because insurance wouldn't cover temporary housing. I still have nightmares about the smoke." But this time, Nadia's older sister Camille was there. Camille was in college studying pre-law and had zero patience for nonsense. She looked straight at Pilar and said, "That's horrible. Which insurance company was it? Because failure to provide temporary housing after a covered fire is actually illegal in this state. You could have gotten a huge settlement." Pilar fumbled, said she couldn't remember. Camille kept pushing. "What year was it? There should be fire department records. Total losses are always documented. We could probably help your family file a retroactive claim." Pilar started backtracking. Maybe it wasn't the whole house. Maybe it was just severe damage. Maybe she misremembered the insurance thing. But Camille had opened a door that couldn't be closed. Other people started asking follow-up questions about Pilar's stories. Which hospital was the car accident at? My mom works at Regional. Maybe she remembers a big pileup. What was that rare disease that killed your dogs? My dad's a vet. He's never heard of anything like that. Your ex had 3 families? That must have been in the news. Pilar tried to deflect, saying it was traumatic to revisit these memories. But then, quiet Tomas, who never said much, dropped the bomb. "Pilar, remember sophomore year when you said your appendix burst during vacation and you had emergency surgery in Mexico? I just remembered. You were literally at my birthday party that whole week. I have photos." He pulled up his phone, and there was Pilar, very much not recovering from emergency surgery, eating cake and playing laser tag. Pilar tried to explain. Maybe she'd mixed up the dates. Maybe it was a different vacation. But the spell was broken. Everyone started comparing notes, and the stories didn't add up. She couldn't have been at camp getting her heart broken while also at her aunt's wedding. She couldn't have been volunteering at the homeless shelter during the exact hours she was in our group chat, complaining about being stuck at home with the flu. But here's the part that really got her. Nadia, whose actual house had actually caught fire, just looked exhausted and said, "You know what the worst part is, Pilar? I needed my friends today. I needed to talk about something scary that actually happened to me. And you made it about your fake tragedy." Again, Pilar tried one last time, started tearing up, talking about how she just wanted to help, how she was only trying to relate, but nobody was listening anymore. She switched to online school after winter break, claiming she needed to focus on her mental health.